Claim they like riding, but I know that they ain't. Ride or die. I go hard in the paint, yeah, homie, I'm a saint. Ride or die.
Alrighty, so as I record this, I'm sitting here with a blanket wrapped around me. It is very, very cold outside. Negative 7 right now where I am. Just got what was supposed to be the big snowstorm. Although, to be honest, there's not really that much snow on the ground compared to, normal winters here in Ohio. What I will say that was kind of interesting was the way that the snow blew, like my whole entire front porch is covered, which typically, doesn't happen. Not much snow in the backyard, maybe a couple inches on the ground. But anyway, this particular video was from a conversation last night. Darth Arianus, who we know has a habit of getting upset. I've never heard him go off in the fashion that he went off on the stage yesterday, but he thought it would be okay to show his racist side and then to use racist remarks towards another member of the panel, and so I had to remove him. And he did this in retaliation because he was losing the discussion and he wasn't doing so well. So going forward, you won't see Darth Arianus on my channel or my room. But I wanted to still highlight the issue so that you guys could see the discussion that caused him to lose it, and also so you guys understand why he just can't simply be featured anymore. Also, as a Christian, there's certain standards that I hold myself to, and I'm not saying that the atheists that I interact with on Clubhouse, that a lot of them are okay with what Darth Arianus did or said, because they're not. But I can't have people who are blatantly going to be racist and use that kind of racist language in an intentional way and try to hurt other people. It's not okay. That being said, enjoy the video.
Yeah, but anyway,
No, I do
we
not.
can discuss the argument for the existence of God, if you want. Hey, John, what did you think about the argument I gave the other day?
Well, what argument is that?
Oh, do you remember how we had Detroyer in the room and we discussed the laws of logic?
No, I'm never
Oh, okay, you were
gonna.
involved in that?
No,
Yeah. He said
Detroyer's
the
too.
laws of logic
Detroyer's
did
too
not exist.
forgettable to remind yourself of him. I mean, it's just.
No. Well then, let me ask Daniel what he thinks.
Sure.
So Daniel, do you think the laws of logic exist in minds only, or do you think the laws of logic exist outside of minds,
Yeah, that's a great question.
or they,
Um,
or they don't exist at all?
right. So it's not obvious to me, like the ontology of these things, but I'm inclined to believe that they don't exist.
They don't exist.
Yeah,
So if something doesn't exist, can you use it? Can you use it to in like a rational, in like a debate, in like a discussion? Can you use it in an argument?
like a
Kind of
concept.
a question is that?
I mean, if something doesn't exist, I just take it that it doesn't have any properties. So if something doesn't have any properties, how could you possibly appeal to the laws of logic
You could just be a you could
in an
just be a
inference?
fictionalist. You could be a fictionalist about the properties pertaining to logic, but still use them in like a dialectic.
Oh, okay. So they exist as concepts.
Did you not hear what I just said? They don't exist. You could be a fictionalist about the properties about logic, but still use them in a discussion because you find them, I don't know, like intelligible. It's an intelligible way to communicate by employing these things.
Yeah, I heard fictionalist. I missed what you said after that. So fictionalist about You said properties?
Fictionalist about the properties pertaining to logic, which is just to say that
Oh, okay.
logic doesn't exist. So
Oh, sort of like, you know how you can be
Ariana,
fictionalist about the
get ready
properties
for
of
the necessary
unicorns?
mind argument. Just brace yourself. Buckle up.
oh, I already know what the I
I
already
thought it
know
was a
the
really good
James
argument, Dan.
Anderson. I already know the James Anderson BS that's gonna come with this.
Oh,
So
no. This is gonna
You
be
understand
slightly
that
different from James
that
Hunt.
Ariana's trollingly rendered this argument to Matt Dillahunty for laughs. So what's your
Yeah,
score here?
anyway, so when you say
So you're
I'm a little bit unclear about what you said. You said it exists fictionally as sorry, fictionalism about properties. Is that sort of like how you can be a fictionalist about, unicorns? You can say that, oh well, they just exist as concepts, but they don't actually exist in reality.
oh
Is it,
my
is it,
god,
is it something like
look,
that?
look. You could invoke all the mereological talk that you want, but the mereological talk alone doesn't have like a referent. It's not referring to anything.
Oh, okay. So the mereological talk doesn't refer to anything. I don't know what you mean by that. Can you
When we
clear
look,
that up for me
when
a
I
little bit?
say that there is a property of redness, right? I'm saying that the let me just close this. When I say that there's like a property of redness, I'm saying that there exists like some commage like talk about what redness, might be like, but I'm not saying that redness refers to anything in the world. And the same thing could be said about logic. The mere fact that we talk about logic doesn't mean that logic has a referent, right? And I think that's what Daniel is saying. Daniel is saying, look, we can employ these things as tools in order to discuss ideas and concepts and the way to think rationally, but none of that has like any referent, right? It doesn't exist in the world. It's not actual.
I'm a little bit puzzled by that because
Of course you.
if you say it doesn't have a referent, then then it doesn't have truth conditions. Um, and if it doesn't, like, so for instance, we can say it is true or false. Um, so
You
then
realize that you realize that
so then could you say the laws of logic are true
you
in any
you
sense,
realize that
in any
you
meaningful sense?
realize that there could be true propositions, right? Someone could believe that there are true propositions, but still also believe that there are no such things as propositions, right?
Okay, so somebody could believe that they're true propositions, but at the same time believe there are no propositions.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. Um, isn't that a
How
contradiction?
is that a contradiction?
Well, because on one hand they believe propositions have properties, on the other hand they believe propositions don't have
They don't
properties.
look. The position is that they don't have properties, but nevertheless, there's going to be some alethic conditions to the propositions at hand. What's the contradiction? They're not saying that,
Yeah.
oh, I believe that there are properties to propositions and there are no properties. They just say that there are no properties.
I find that very confusing.
But
So isn't truth value a proposition, sorry, a property of propositions?
oh my God, look, when you're a fictionalist about propositions, you're saying that propositions have no referent, right? They just don't exist. Okay. So if I say that propositions don't exist, I could still invoke a lethic talk about propositions.
Alethic
It's just
properties?
sure. Well, I prefer you just using the term alethic talk, not alethic properties. But look, you can still invoke alethic talk and still think that propositions don't exist, right? What you have to argue is why propositions and the belief that they exist is required in order for them to be true, which you haven't established. So,
Oh, okay. So you think something can be true, something can have a true value, but not exist?
oh my God, how many times do I have to?
That's a
You could
question.
have
It's like
true
either you can either answer yes or no, right?
the content of the proposition, right, is the things that can be true or false, right?
Right.
But we're saying that you don't have to actually think that the propositions themselves exist. You don't have to think that there's an ontology to propositions in order to say that such and such thing is a true proposition.
Okay. So as far as I understood what you said the content of the proposition is what has a true value, not the proposition itself.
I don't know why you
Correct?
think I don't know why you think that
I don't know why you're not
I
responding
don't
with
know why
yes or
you
no
think.
and then clarifying.
Yeah, I said there could be true propositions without believing that propositions have an ontology. What's the
Right.
issue with
That's a
that?
reassertion of your original idea. What
Well,
I'm
you haven't
asking
shown
for
me. I
I'm
have
asking
no.
for clarification.
Yeah, I have no reason to think that it's like logically necessary that you have to be committed to an ontology of propositions.
Okay. As far as I understood what you said the content of the proposition has the true value, not the proposition itself. Is that what you said?
Yes. So look, Detroyer,
Okay.
Detroit. Take for example someone like Detroyer. Detroyer thinks that God does not exist is a true
Hmm.
proposition. Wait, shut up for a second. God, Detroyer thinks that God does not exist as a true proposition, but he is not committed to the existence of propositions. What's the contradiction?
Not exactly sure why you're going off
How
on a
is
tangent.
that's just an example.
I
So
asked you a
this is an
simple
example of
question.
someone. This is an example of someone
Yeah, I'd like
who.
to finish my sentence though. So,
Yeah,
as far as I understood you said the
that wasn't
content
a
of the
tangent, by
proposition
the
is
way.
what has true value. But I just take the content of a proposition to be the proposition itself. So I'm just
Because
not
you're
understanding
look, you're
how do
so
you what do
stupid.
you think
You're
is the
so
difference
stupid.
between the content of a proposition and the proposition itself?
Look, you're so it's insane. Just listen to what I'm saying. Detroyer thinks that God does not exist is a true proposition, but it's also the case that in his background of beliefs, he thinks that there is no ontology to propositions. What's the P and not
Yeah,
P
I
there?
understand that's the assertion, right? That propositions
No, no,
can
no.
be
It's a question. It's a question.
okay.
Just tell
You're
me
not
what's
gonna
the P
be
and not P.
interrupting me. I'm gonna let you speak, but you have to let me speak as well.
Go
So understand that's the assertion that propositions can be true without there being any propositions. What I'm pointing out,
ahead.
that is an absurd claim because you said, okay, what's actually true in a proposition, the true value attaches to the content of a proposition as opposed to the proposition itself. Well, what is the difference between the content of a proposition and a proposition? There's no difference.
Oh my God! Look,
Oh my
you can
god.
think. You
Look.
can think. Yeah,
Oh my
you're
god.
you're a fucking.
Okay, you
Look,
can't use the N word.
no. When I'm dealing with people
Did you
like
call me the N word?
Okay, you are
Oh
gone
my
from the
god,
stage.
he can't.
That's inappropriate. Look, dude, like this replay can get like reported now, and it can cost Godless Girl the room. So now I've got to turn off the replays. You look.
I go hard in the paint, yeah, homie, I'm a saint. Ride or die.